So, oh wow, yeah, that's incredible, man. That's awesome.
I just got him not even a month ago, so I am newly still have a grin, still grinning ear to ear. A lot of guys that are preaching APRs that want the next level type of buck in Michigan have like a cardboard box in their garage filled with basket racks and 2.5-year-olds and 3.5-year-olds and all these deer that they're telling everyone to pass.
Yeah.
We probably brought 20 arrows a piece on the course because we had no idea what to expect. And all you see in like the TAC pictures are like, 5,000 arrows. like, oh man, I did because I shot this one. And there's literally an arrow in her skull.
No way.
So I thought I had to get it mounted. So like, I don't know if you can see, kind of, yeah, you can see it.
What?
So that's the broadhead in her nasal cavity. So like when I was hunting as a kid, like out of those, $50 stands with like the metal bars with like the 3 metal bars of the seat, like
Yeah.
that sucks. So like all these other new platforms and stuff, like at least they have like full metal seats.
Welcome back to Mark of All Trades, guys. So today I got a special host. I got Martin here. He is one of the co-founders for the Michigan Hunters Instagram page. So I have him here. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Can you give the viewers just a little brief summary about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Martin Hella. I born and raised in Michigan. I'm now almost 30. I'm 29, and I live in Oakland County. And I spend most of my time thinking about the outdoors and what I can do to hunt and fish or just be outdoors in general and hike around. I like Mark said, I run the Michigan Hunters Instagram page. We've been running that page since 2016.
Nice.
My cousin actually started that page, who's a couple years younger than me, Max Hella. And we kind of started the page on a joke. My brother kind of like suggested it, and then Max started it. We kind of modeled it. I don't know if you're a snowmobiler, but there's an Instagram page called Sled Michigan. And we're like, oh, that's always a cool page. And like, we snowmobile in the cold season. And we've always just kind of tracked it. And then we were like, all right, well, what if we just made like a virtual success board and kind of showcased all sorts of Michigan hunters. And hunters, in our opinion, just kind of encompasses both men and women. I know there's the huntress term out there, but the way we see it, hunters are hunters. It doesn't matter what you are. It's kind of the way we see it anyway. So we've been running the page and just kind of Max ran it for a couple of years by himself, and then he kind of looped me into it because it was starting to grow and we were starting to get ideas to like kind of like market ourselves and expand a little bit. So I joined, and then about a few months later, we brought my brother into the mix. So it's me, my brother, and my cousin that run the page. And we have a ball with it. We have a constant texting group that we talk every day, like, hey, it's your turn to post, or hey, it's your turn, or stuff that we're doing. Like we always try to do a giveaway. The last couple of years, we've been trying to do giveaways before the season, stuff like that, just to kind of promote the outdoor space and get people excited for the year. And some of the brands we're hooked up with, and some of the brands we just kind of say, hey, you interested in getting a little exposure? And a lot of people jump on it, and we're not getting rich off this page by any means. So we've definitely spent more than we've made, but we just have fun,
That's
spreading
awesome.
the love. We do a little bit of our personal hints on it, but for the most part, it's just spreading other successes of Michigan hunters all over in all types of different spaces and whatever they hunt. And if it's ethical and legal, we'll post it for the most part.
Yeah, that's what I like about you guys' page too, is that like you're not just posting like the huge deer that Michigan has, but like you're also posting like, hey, this is this guy's first deer, or like even like, hey, I'm just trying to put meat in the freezer. Like that's super awesome. I commend you for that. I find that interesting. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, that's what, just try to like keep it real. We're like, hey, this is what's going on. Like some people might be pro APR, some people might be it's brown, it's down, some people might not deer hunt at all and they just want to show you their salmon fish. And like, hey, we're all about it. Like we're my cousin Max is more the fisher, so you'll see all sorts of content and stuff on the story. And usually all three of us are uploading. I do a lot of the story uploading, but if it's fishing, it's mostly Max. He'll be up in he's got a place in St. Ignace or just outside of there. So they're on the big lakes, that's salmon fishing and having all sorts of fun all the time.
One of the cool things that I liked about your page is that like I don't think I've ever seen like you guys double up on a post. Do you guys just get like a ton of submissions? Like
yeah, we're pretty deep. We definitely every now and then we do we'll double up just because like some guys will send us 10 pictures or something, and we'll, instead of putting them all in one post, we'll try to break it up, and then we end up double dipping, so to speak. But for the most part, like we got over a year worth of email, like not emails, but direct messages.
That's
Like
crazy.
we just, and like for the most part, like we just go back and I'll scroll back like 20 some weeks, pick a picture, and then I spend some time to like edit the picture, make it look a little better,
Yeah.
just because I want to make it look a little cleaner and help everyone out. Everyone appreciates a good picture, I feel like.
Dang.
But yeah, we're pretty buried. I mean, I like it though, and we have all sorts of conversations with all sorts of people about everything. It's
That's
cool.
awesome.
Like, I mean, some nights I'll be sitting at the couch and like not watching TV, just shooting the shit with some random person on like, opposite side of the state as me or in the UP, like talking about something random or
Yeah.
I don't know. It's cool. We definitely have fun with it. And yes, I'm actually surprised by the amount of submissions we get. And like when we first started, we would actually like, hey, like send us pictures. And now like we don't even really ask. Like we ask every now and then and just to get a few extras, but like for the most part, people just send them in on their own now, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's super good. Yeah, you guys are phenomenal. It's super consistent. Like I think when I'm scrolling through like my stuff, it's like always like every single day, like, oh, there's one. You know what I mean? You
We
can
try
kind
to
of
do it.
guess.
We try and like I know the I haven't spent much time on like YouTube or anything like studying the algorithms of Instagram by any means. But, like they definitely have changed in like the last couple of years. Like
Yeah.
stuff has definitely shifted, but like we still seem to get a good amount of hits. And like during hunting season, like our activity is like, and I consider hunting season basically like September to like January.
Hmm.
Like it's like 3 times, 4 times as much activity. Like
Jeez.
so there's definitely people that kind of tune in and tune out. And I do that as a hunter too, like
Hmm.
certain things. Like, but I'm thinking about hunting 365 days a year. And this page definitely keeps us interested too, because like, oh, so and so just like, I still have my buddies texting groups, and like we'll still send pictures. Like if somebody's deer impresses us, we'll be like, hey, look at this picture. Some guy sent us this from like so and so, and
Yeah,
like
that's
it's just
cool.
wild.
I'm sure you're building like a cool network and stuff too, talking to all these people and things like that.
Oh yeah, I would love to like trade hunts. Like that's something like I always thought of like an app. Like I know there's a lot more logistics than just simple trade of a hunt. You could get not all apples to apples, right? But like it
Hmm.
sounds sweet in my head. Like, hey,
It's
you got a
genius.
spot that I'll take you, and like everyone knows it's hunting, so it's not guaranteed. But
Right.
like, hey, I'll take you to a spot, you take me to a spot.
That's awesome. That's a good idea, man. Get that started.
Yeah, one day maybe. There's
Yeah.
probably too many kinks though. Like someone would be like, "This guy took me to his 1 acre parcel. He was riding his 4 wheeler to like 10 yards away."
Yeah,
Like
that's a
I
good
took him to
point.
my farm on like 100 acres of corn. It's like,
Yeah. Jeez. Well,
in theory, it sounds cool.
yeah. Can you tell us how you got into hunting?
My dad was a big hunter. Not a huge hunter by any means, but a big Michigan hunter. He grew up a rifle hunter,
Okay.
and so he kind of took me under his wing and took me deer hunting with a gun when I was younger. And then I still was of the age, which I'm pretty sure you're in the same age because I think you're a little older than me. But where we weren't allowed to technically hunt until like I think bow hunting was 10, and then
Mhm.
gun hunting was 14. I want to say it was,
Yep.
and then I want to say like right like a year after I turned 14 was like when the rules just went to like open season.
Yep.
So
I
like
remember that.
I was like waiting. Okay, I can finally hunt. And like I never really thought about bow hunting much because like my dad wasn't a bow hunter. So I didn't
Sure.
really, I knew what bows were, but I never really thought about it. And then once I started gun hunting, I was like loving it. And then I would go out like, with my dad as a kid and stuff every now and then. And then I was like talking to my dad. I'm like, so how can we hunt more? Like I want to be able to hunt more.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, we could bow hunt. And I'm like, all right, well, let's get some bows. And then I got a bow. My first bow, I was some point in high school, so like 15 or 16 or something like that.
Okay.
And then I love bow hunting now. And I've been shooting a bow ever since. But I still gun hunt. And now the way I see it, like more time in the woods, the better. So I got a muzzle loader, I got a gun, I got bows, and
That's awesome.
whole season. Like, and if I shoot a deer like September in the early doe hunt, or if I shoot a deer in early October, I'm still probably hunting until the end of December.
That's awesome. That's super
I just
good.
like to hunt, and like I'm not always out there shooting anything by any means, but
Yeah.
being out there in the woods, I'm sure you understand it. It's a way of life, and you like when you got 3 months to do it, you're like, hey, I got to be out there until the end of it.
Yeah, for
And I
sure.
got gear and everything to support me through all the coldness of up north and whatnot. Embrace the suck, but
You got to.
but
Yeah.
it's part of it. It makes you look back and enjoy it. I feel like that much more.
Yeah, for sure. Can you tell us about your bow setup?
Yes, this year I actually got a new bow, so I don't do that every year. Every couple years I get a bow, and so my last bow was a Prime Synergy, which I had. It was for a couple years, and I still have it actually. But that's a nice bow. I shot a few deer with it, and shot really smooth. I actually got to take that out to Colorado elk hunting.
Nice.
And I hiked around the mountains with it, and it it took the mountains fine. I mean, we brought a backup bow because we weren't sure. It was me and my buddy's first time out there, and we bought like a bow that was kind of in the middle of both of us. So if one of our bows was bad, we could still shoot it. One of us could
Mhm.
shoot it at least, and we didn't need to break that out, and I was happy with that. But now I have I feel like this is such a staple now with all the pictures I see of it. But I went with the Matthews route, and
Nice.
I'm definitely happy with it.
That's awesome.
So the V3 is it's definitely a nice bow. So
It's like the brand new one, isn't it? Like the
yeah,
yeah.
so I'm uh I'm definitely I one main reason I switched was I was actually switching from a hand release to a thumb release, so I would
Okay.
need to switch my draw length. Then I was having all sorts of issues getting the cams from Prime, so I just was like, well, you know what, I'm not even gonna screw with switching out the draw length. I'm just gonna get a new bow.
Okay.
So I did take everything off my Synergy, and now I'm like kind of like I kind of like the idea of having a backup bow, and like so I haven't decided if I'm gonna sell it or not. I
Okay.
did have a backup bow like before my Prime. I had a Hoyt Charger, and then
Okay.
like
Yeah.
it was funny. I sold it like a few months ago, like 8 months ago or something like that. And then like right after, I needed a backup bow because I wanted to like because I put my Prime in the shop for a little while to try and get the cams that I wanted. And it
Mm-hmm.
just didn't end up working out. And I was
Jeez.
like, man, I just got rid of my backup bow and now I don't have it. And like I didn't really need it because season wasn't on, but I did go do the total archery challenge this year. So I was like, man, I need my bow.
How was that?
It was awesome. I would
Yeah.
definitely recommend it if you haven't been.
Yeah, I haven't been. I keep hearing great things about it.
This is our second year going, and it's a fun time. And if you like shooting your bow and just screwing around, we're not like professional archers by any stretch of the imagination, but
Mhm.
we like doing a little bit longer distance courses. It's fun. Like we're shooting 100-yard shots. Or one of the courses we did two courses this year. The farthest one we shot was like the target was like 120 yards.
Jeez.
It was funny because like you're signing up for it, and it was like 45 yards to like 100 yards or something like that was like what they said was going to be like your distances. And then like our second target was like 119 yards.
Wow.
And it was like, man, I thought I signed up for the 100 yard. And like you could walk up like if you wanted to, but it's a bunch of dudes for the most part. So,
Yeah. Did you guys hit the target?
yeah, I in 50 targets, I only lost 2 arrows.
That's not bad. That's not bad
So
at all.
I'll take it as a success. And I actually only had the Matthews for 3 days or 4 days. And I picked it up on a Wednesday and the shoot was on Saturday. So
Jeez.
I shot it Wednesday night. Thursday I was too busy. And then I shot it Friday night. And then I shot Saturday morning before our shoot. And then our shoot started and I shot 50 targets.
Wow.
So I was pretty happy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I'm
That's
running
super
the
good.
VAP like a heavy arrow, and like some guys will shoot like a lighter arrow for that, and like I didn't really have time to like sighted multiple arrows, so I just was shooting my good arrow.
Yeah.
I was man, I hope I don't like lose too many of these. But I shot it last year, and like we probably brought 20 arrows a piece on the course because we had no idea what to expect, and all you
Yeah.
see in like the TAC pictures are like 5,000 arrows, like oh man. So we're like, all right, well, we're not that good. Like, we
Yeah.
can we can keep it on target, but like 100 yards, I don't know. So we
Yeah.
brought like an obnoxious amount of arrows last year, and then like we did okay. Like I only lost one arrow last
Okay.
year, and
Nice.
I only did one course last year, 25 targets.
Okay.
So, but this year we had a little bit more confidence going into it. And we're like, all right, we're not that bad. And like there are a lot of shots where it's like the target and like literally like a log below it or a log above it. And it's like, or like 10 yards before it, there's like a limb.
Here,
It's
let me give
fun.
you my arrow now.
Yeah. But I was like, it was funny because of the 2 arrows this year, I literally like I should have dropped one, which is like funny. But like, I was like so butthurt about it for like probably 20 targets. I was just like, man, I wish I buried that into a tree, but I like straight up like I just left it somewhere.
Yeah, that's the worst. Well,
If
we were
you ever get a
talking.
chance, I definitely recommend doing
I
it.
want to. I
I
want
want to
to.
do it in like another state. That's like one of my goals. Like maybe just go on like a little vacation during the time and like bring my wife out there and like a
Mhm.
buddy and his wife, and they can go do whatever. I mean, I did see like quite a few people like bring their wives or significant others. Not that like, if your wife shoots archery, great, but my wife doesn't want to shoot bow. But I did see quite a few guys like just have people hiking along with them.
Yeah,
So
for
that's
sure.
always an option if you don't have like a shooter in your family and they just kind of want to walk around with you.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. I didn't even think about that. That's smart.
Yeah, I think it costs like $10 or something to have like someone just walk with you.
It's not bad. Yeah, that's super good.
And a lot of the courses, I mean, Michigan's cool because it's on Boyne Mountain, like Michigan Mountain, but like all the out of state ones seem like pretty sweet. Like,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I feel like I just keep missing them. Like it's just like, oh man, I just left there.
yeah, and you gotta like sign up for them like right when they go active. You gotta like sign in like within minutes.
Dang.
Like same with Michigan. Like Michigan sells out like pretty darn quick.
Wow.
And like you don't want to like we just sign up like we do 3 or 4 of us together and like we kind of we just we did 3 of us last year and then we were like all right we'll add a fourth this year, but by seeing the other groups like some groups will have like 8 people and like it's
Jeez.
like obnoxious like I don't know if you golf. I'm not much of a golfer, but I've golfed it my fair share. Like sitting at the tee box just waiting, like it's not like golf where you can like, oh, can I play through, like
Yeah.
that's a thing where you can like pass the group, like you just kind of have to sit and wait.
Oh man, I
This
can
year
see
we
that getting
signed up for like
frustrating.
the second or third available tee time, and like we start at like 8 o'clock in the morning. We got done with our first 25 by like noon.
Okay.
And then like what's cool, and they don't really advertise it. So something for you if you've never done it. If you sign up for one event, like try and sign up for early in the morning, so then you can come back and be done. And then the second half of the day, it's like a free for all, and you can go on any of the courses
Oh, that's
like
awesome.
for free. Like you don't have to pay.
Wow.
So as long as you have to get up the mountain by like a certain time so you can like finish by like their completion time.
Sure.
So that's why I say like you got to sign up earlier in the day, because if you sign up for like a 10 o'clock time and don't finish till like 2 or something, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if they would let you like back up. But
I
if you
got you.
finish like early, they'll let you go back up. So that's how we were able to gun through too. And some guys make a whole weekend out of it, but we just didn't have the time to do it this year.
Right.
So we did 50 targets in one day.
Jeez,
So
that's a good
our
little
legs were
tidbit.
burning, but it was fun. And it was last year it was postponed because of COVID. It was in August, but the normal time to do it's June. So it's like not typically too hot yet.
Sure, especially if you go in the morning like what you did. I'm sure that's nice, you know.
Right.
So, well, that's cool. We were talking earlier about how you got drawn for an elk tag.
Yep.
Can you tell us about the process first of how you got that?
Yeah, sure. So I've been applying for the Michigan Elk Tag ever for a few years now, and that was just if you're not familiar with it, that's like you have to apply for the points, and that's every year, and you would get like 1 point a year. So each point is like how many times your name is in the hat, essentially.
Got
So
it.
1 year your name's in the hat once, 5 years your name's in the hat 5 times. And then you keep accumulating those year to year. And I think you lose them after a certain time if you don't apply. It's like a 3 to 5 year grace period. Like if you don't apply, you lose your points. You
Okay.
have to definitely in your best interest to keep applying. Um, but I actually got drawn with only 5 points, which is kind of why I was using 5 as an example. So my name was in the hat 5 times, which is considered pretty good. I actually looked at the odds of that specific amount of points, and there's only 2 of us of the 260 people that were drawn that had 5 years. And like
Oh
there was
wow.
a couple people that were under. But like a lot of the guys I met while hunting had like been applying for like 30 years.
What?
And it's like I was 28, and I was just like, these guys are like 65, 75. Like
Wow.
also like half the guys that were in the group like had all sorts of health issues just because of their age. Like,
Sure.
like a lot of them were like mobility, like leg issues, but some of them had like more severe health issues.
Yeah.
Thinking the whole time how lucky I am to be able to like do this in my youth and really absorb the whole like experience of it.
Absolutely.
But it was pretty sweet. So you apply like in the summer, and then you found out like a day or two after 4th of July, like that first Monday after 4th of July
Okay.
is when the drawing results are. And since it was COVID, I was actually working remote. So I was still working. I was up north for the holiday, and I was like, I'll just stay an extra couple of days because we have that flexibility. So I was sitting at with the view of the lake inside at the cabin, like just a little lake that we have a place on. And I'm like going through my emails and working. And then like my buddy, the group texted, like somebody's like, didn't draw the elk tag. It was like halfway through the day. The results had been out the whole day. And I wasn't even thinking about it. I was like, oh, I'm going to log in and I'll look at that. And like I log in and it was like elk. And it was like, I saw like 0 points like on like my total.
Mm.
And I was like, that's weird. Like I should have points. And then like I was looking more and it was like, you're successful. I'm like, wait, successful for what? like I was like not like understanding. And then I was like, oh holy shit, like it says like I'm successful for a tag. Awesome. And I was like, and so it said 0 points because it literally deleted all my points because I drew.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God.
That's awesome.
And I was like freaking out. My wife's in the other room and she's like wondering what's going on. And I'm like, you're not ever going to believe this. And like, she would have, like, she knows I applied, but it's not something like, she's not like really 100 by any means. It's not something she thinks about or ever crosses her mind.
Yeah.
And like my parents were outside doing something. I ran out there and I'm like, Dad, you're not going to believe this. Like, my dad said he thought I was going to tell him that my wife was pregnant. And I was like,
you had that much excitement,
like,
huh?
I'm like, whoa, she's not pregnant, 1. And 2, I wouldn't tell you like this if she was.
Yeah.
But my dad actually drew in 97, which is like before they had like any sort of rules on like how many you could draw. And he drew, it was his first year applying and he drew.
Okay.
So,
wow.
So as far as like, I don't know if my family's a little lucky, but like if anyone says like, oh, we've been applying for 20 years, like I haven't got it, it's still worth applying because
sure.
My dad 1 year, me 5 years, like.
That's awesome. So, oh wow, yeah, that's incredible, man. That's awesome.
I just got him not even a month ago, so I am still have a grin, still grinning ear to ear.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. I live in like a standard ranch, so like I don't have high ceilings anywhere in my house. So like I had to kind of get creative. So I have like a little bit of like a man room in my basement. And so I have like my work desk. So he's not that high above the desk.
Mm-hmm.
But like I just like protected him above, like I was like, all right, nothing can bump into him because I got 2 big dogs.
Oh, okay. That's awesome, man.
And a baby on the way. So I'm like, all right, I need to like keep it safe.
That's super cool.
And I was gonna do a shoulder mount. Like I know some guys will probably like, why didn't you do a shoulder mount? Well, because my dad got his in 97, he had a shoulder mount and we had it for like 10 or 15 years. And we had a nice house for like, I mean, that's a dumb comment. I feel like we had a house with high ceilings.
Yeah.
And so he was able to support the shoulder mount for the time. And then we moved and like, we were kind of like getting a little bit of a different style house and the ceilings weren't as tall. So he's like, he looked into like possibly like donating it to like some different causes and stuff. And like that didn't work out. And he was like, all right, well, I'm just going to get it cut down. So then he got it cut down to just a skull cap.
Okay.
And I'm like, it still looks good. So now it's like a skull cap with leather on a nice wood plaque.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I don't really want to run into that throughout my life. And I always appreciated getting a Euro mount.
Yeah.
So I was like, just for the longevity, since I'm young and I'll probably live in 4 or 5 different houses, I mean, that's a guess, you know, like
yeah,
that's set by any means. So I went long term. I was like, I feel like I'll be happy with the Euro.
Nice. That's beautiful, man.
So he's a 6'5". but he's technically a 6x6 because he has a busted his busted left side.
Okay.
So
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's got, and this holder is pretty cool. It actually rotates a little bit.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome that it rotates like that.
yeah, and it's just kind of convenient because of how where he's positioned in my room and the side that's broken. I can like rotate him like out like into the room. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
awesome.
but he's actually missing like about 15 to 20 inches of antler actually, because he's like that whole backside is like a pointing up at the top, and then the back scratcher they call it. He's
Mhm.
missing that whole back scratcher. It's
Okay.
like literally like peeled. Well, I think it just adds character, and I've shot a lot of broken bucks, so it's
Yeah,
kind of
that's what
like
I was gonna say. I was like, it's got a lot of character. It's dark too. Are they usually that dark?
yeah, it is freaking super dark. I don't know a bunch about him, but like a lot of the we saw quite a few elk that week, and yeah, I mean they were all pretty good looking and pretty dark.
Yeah, that's
Like,
beautiful.
I can't even touch my finger on this side. I can on this one, but
Yeah.
it's got about a 36-inch inside spread.
Jeez, that's awesome.
I shot him at 175 yards, which is the
Wow,
farthest shot I've ever taken on an animal, actually.
that's awesome.
But I took my bow out there, actually. I took my bow and a gun. I wanted to shoot with the bow.
Yeah.
I tried bow hunting for 4 days. We were able to carry both weapons. So I had both with me the whole time. But I kind of committed to the gun after the fourth day.
Okay.
But I had so I guess to backtrack a little bit on like how the tags work. You can either get like either early season or late season,
Mhm.
and I got the second season, which is in December.
Okay.
So, and like the upside of the second season versus the first season is it's all consecutive. So mine was 9 days straight. So my hunt started on a Saturday and ended the following Sunday.
I got you.
So, and then the early hunt was like a series of like 3 or 4 weekends.
Okay.
So I think they might be like 3 day weekends. And I
Oh,
think they actually technically get like a couple more days, like 10 or 11 total days of hunting, but like it's like a couple 3 day weekends, which is like, no, I'm sure it's cool. Like, because early season they're more responsive to calling,
mhm.
so like you can actually like get bugling back. Like we didn't call at all. Like we heard some stuff, but like we didn't do any vocalizations.
That's like
Um,
even more impressive, you know?
yeah, I mean we were humping around, but like a lot of it like is driving around.
Okay.
But with us, it was like we were able bodied enough, so we were like going like through timber, like hiking for like the first day we hiked for like 3 hours. And like how these work is there's a lot of the guides. So there's some bunch of guides up in the area. And a lot of the guides, like, it's only a one time a year thing and like, well, 2 times a year, but like, one elk season and they only have like 260 tags. It's like 180 of the tags were cow tags. And then the
Okay.
other tags were 80 tags were either or. So my tag was technically either or. I could have shot a cow or a bull.
Nice.
And then since it's a bull tag, I'm only eligible. I'm never eligible to draw again in my life in
What?
Michigan. So the only way I could get a Michigan elk tag again is if I win the Pure Michigan hunt.
Hey,
So
can you tell me what that is?
so the Pure Michigan hunt is like $5 donation. You well not a donation. It's a $5 tag essentially to the DNR, and you can get they draw you. It's like you apply for like the 2020 and like it's good for like the 2022 season. And they give you literally like one of every tag. Every tag. Like you get
Wow.
an elk tag, you get your turkey tags, a fallen, excuse me, you get a fallen spring turkey tag, you get a bear tag. I don't know if you get to pick your area for the bear or if they pick for you, but like they give you a bear tag. They give you all your deer tags. They give you a fishing tag. I think they give you like a bunch of free like hunting stuff, like guns and like
Wow.
gear, and I think they also take you on like a top notch like waterfowl hunt somewhere in Michigan too.
Only
So
one person does that?
this is all for like $5. And it's like when you're buying your tags online, or even if you don't buy them online, just log in online. You might be able to do it at the kiosk too. It's literally $5, and you can buy like infinite amount of tries. And I think there's three winners a year.
Okay. Wow. That's incredible. I've never heard of that. That's awesome.
So like usually like I like to buy my deer tags and stuff in person because like I like the sticky backs on them.
Yeah.
Like I don't like getting the paper ones in the mail, but I'll like usually get like my ORV licenses or something in the mail.
Hmm.
So I'll add on like those $5, like I'll throw like 15-20 bucks at it, a couple
Sure.
draws.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt to try. And the way I see it, it's just a donation to the DNR if like you don't win. Like,
That's true.
some
Yeah.
guys are like, well, the DNR might not need more money, but like I don't know. You and I have a lot more time in the woods left, so I think a little bit more money in the DNR's pocket is probably not too bad.
Yeah, I agree with that. I guess kind of staying on that topic, like I'm not sure what your stance is on it or not, but like I don't know how many years it's been now. I'm gonna guess and say maybe 5 or 6, but were you big on baiting before it was they took it
Yeah,
away?
like I definitely like grew up where like baiting was like the way you hunted, I would
Yeah.
say. But I've definitely like grown as a hunter in the last few years, and like it's not necessarily like how I hunt, but like I feel like baiting has its time and its place, and even like the best hunter who like doesn't actually hunt over bait probably has like a bait pile or what he would probably consider a feed pile in
Hmm.
the woods, like
Yeah.
supplemental feeding.
Hmm.
Um, like a lot of the guys that I know that have like a really good wall, they probably don't shoot their deer on bait, but like definitely, definitely feed the wildlife.
Sure.
But I mean, I I'm not a proponent of like breaking the law, but
Right.
I don't know how much it's helping. Like for like why it's implemented, like I don't know how much it's actually helping. Is
Hmm.
there I mean, I understand the idea of like it's bringing muzzles and like them closer together. I get that concept, but then like we all know what a licking branch is, and we all know. I mean, you'll see a deer and it's like a 50-acre field or whatever. You'll see a group of deer in like a small like 30-foot premises of each other feeding,
Yep. Yeah.
circle. So I think that's kind of where I don't agree with it. And then I also have a hard time seeing it on every corner. Like I hate that. I hate that. But like I get like, okay, it's not illegal to grow it and it's not illegal to sell it, but it's illegal to like I get that, but like there's all sorts of other things in life that you could say are very the same. Like why are drugs like, just for sale everywhere? And be like, well, it's not illegal to sell it, it's just illegal to have it.
Right. Yeah.
I just think the logic's flawed, and like and
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair to the farmers to like all of a sudden like get their like one source, like not their sole source, but like a source of their income to just get like totally like chopped off.
Yeah. That's a
I don't know how easy that is to outsource to like states that are allowed to bait. Like, is it realistic for a Michigan like beat guy to sell his beat to out of state? I have no idea.
right. Yeah. Then you might be paying 2 sets of taxes and things like that. It's just
Like Standish, like they just like truck them from like not even a mile from the field to like Standish milling, like semi trucks,
yep.
and then you see guys literally in like double axle trailers taking them. Like
Yeah. I wonder where they're going.
the overbaiting gets me. Like if you're gonna put out your bucket, like whatever, but like for
Yeah.
now, I guess follow the DNR's regulations. But
Do you think that that's changed the way that you've hunted? Like, do you put in food plots and stuff now, or did you use food plots before?
so we started food plots before just because we acquired some private land, so we were like starting to do it. But
Okay.
then like the lack of baiting definitely like was like, all right, we're gonna like kind of put a little bit more effort into this and like try more and like invest some more time and money and resources into it. So the
Sure.
last couple of years we've been trying to like acquire like better equipment for the
Mhm.
job. Like for the most part, we're just using an ATV with drag behind implements,
Yep.
which work. But like in a perfect world, we would have a tractor. But like you know, like it's easier said than done to get a tractor.
It is it
Like
too. Yeah.
and like a lot of the stuff's online or TV. Like oh, it's $100 no interest for X amount of months, and like it sounds relatively affordable to like actually afford a tractor. But then, do you have a spot to put the tractor?
That's true.
So
That's
like we don't necessarily have like the storage capability for a tractor, even if it was used or new or any sort.
mm-hmm.
So like I'm kind of like trying to tackle some of my, not just gain a bunch of debt, maybe tackle some current debt in my life, and then
Mm-hmm.
and maybe when I'm a little bit older, start investing in that. So we got a place up north that I've been going to my whole life, but we only acquired the property within the last like 8 years,
Okay.
and it's like doubled in size in the last 8 years. So like we had like 80 acres, and now we have a 160-acre block.
Oh wow, that's
So
awesome. That's super cool.
so it's like family property. It's my parents' place, and we got a cabin up there. And there's some neighbors and stuff, but the 160 is ours. And like, and there's some neighbors that have like some chunks. Like one of our neighbors has 120, the other one's got 160, a couple 40-acre parcels.
Okay.
So all in all, it's a few hundred acres, and most of them basically like one of the groups is just strictly gun hunters,
Mm-hmm.
and then one of the groups is just like old timers that don't even hunt in the mornings. They're just kind of up there to screw around and enjoy
Yeah.
time in the woods, and they don't even really hunt. Like they hunt, but they don't really shoot anything. They're not really shooters. They're more like sit in the woods and enjoy the wildlife and
Yeah. Yeah. I get
chill.
it.
Just old timers enjoying themselves.
That's cool.
So for the most part, our hunting pressure up there is not too bad. We definitely hunt downstate too, but
Okay.
but yeah. So we got in the food plots though are up north at our private property. Down here, we don't really have access to the private property in order to do that. I do hunt one private parcel like farther down here, but I don't have like he doesn't want me doing any of that type of work. So I just kind of like respect that and take advantage of what I do have, and
I got you.
I
Nice.
don't have to pay for it. So it's like, hey, you don't want me to do X, Y, and Z, I won't do those things. Like
Yeah. That's how you keep it.
sometimes you just make it work, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Especially if the hunting's good enough. And a lot of the deer like in this room are from that property. So
I got you.
I
Okay, cool.
respect it. So that's a family friend actually who I'm kind of spoiled by it. I shot a lot of my deer out there. He has two daughters,
Mm-hmm.
and like they're my age now, so now they're grown. But like he just grew up with the two daughters, or he didn't grow up, but like, he had his two daughters' kids, and he's a family friend of my dad. And so he kind of like invited me and my brother and my dad out there to hunt with him. So he had some like camaraderie and some buddies to hunt. So
Yeah.
it's been like kind of like our 80 acres to screw around on for the past like this will be like my 16th season out there.
That's awesome. That's so good.
But he doesn't really want to like cut trees down and stuff. So it's like, hey, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. And
Mm-hmm.
if you want help doing X, Y, and Z or whatever, hit me up.
Yeah. Give and take.
Try to, yeah.
Yeah. When you're out there hunting, like at your spot up north or even where you're at right now, do you have like if you see a deer, how do you judge whether or not you're going to shoot it or not? Is it usually like in inches, like where you take a doe at any time?
Yeah, so I'm not really an inches guy by any means. I mean, I'll measure some things, but most of the bucks I've never actually put a tape on. But most of them I like what guys would say I like Michigan, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. Like, but I have like two different sets of standards because when we're hunting up north, it's just a little different. Like you got to be realistic with what you got up there. Down like Oakland County, Genesee County, Lapeer County, like those like types of counties. I'll be more of like a 3.5 and older like
Okay.
target. So it's not necessarily the size of the rack, but more so like the size of the deer.
I got you.
Which I feel like a lot of guys are definitely shooting the rack and they preach maturity, but like then they'll shoot a big 2.5-year-old when it walks out. And I'm not saying I wouldn't do that, but like
Yeah.
I'm not preaching that either. Like,
I got you. I got you.
like I try to shoot like up north. I feel like I'm at like I feel like everyone should be on like a ladder, like in the perfect world you're going up the ladder. But if you want to hang out on a rung for a little bit, like by all means. And I feel like a lot of the guys that like preach APRs and are pushing APRs, and I think this is a reason why a lot of people don't like really stand behind them because people don't really acknowledge this. There's a lot of guys that are preaching APRs that want the next level type of buck in Michigan have like a cardboard box in their garage filled with basket racks and 2.5-year-olds and 3.5-year-olds and all these deer that they're telling everyone to pass.
Yeah.
So that's like my biggest problem. And it's like, hey, you guys got all your opportunity. Like, I feel like the deer densities were probably better 20 years ago before they like I could be right, I could be wrong. I feel like in some places that's applicable, some places not.
Mm-hmm.
Side note, but like it's not fair to like push all these standards on a younger generation of hunters. It's
Sure.
like I definitely would like to see the age class of the deer grow in Michigan, but like we gotta not be so like, firm fisted about it. Like how can we be like nicer about it,
For sure. It's hard too, because I mean, you get like 160 acres, like that's a ton of land. But like if you
Mhm.
got the people around you that aren't in the same mindset, you know what I mean? Like it's just gone to the wind, you know?
Yeah, I mean it sounds like nice, but like then you talk to somebody in Texas and they hunt like 1,600 acres or like 10,000. It's
Yeah. A lot more
like
manageable.
I mean like I saw a deer on opening day last year, like a 5 point, maybe a 6 point, year and a
Mhm.
half old buck, or may up there it could have been 2.5. Um, and I passed him, but I've shot a couple deer up, a couple bucks up there, a handful, a bunch of does, but like a couple bucks that I'm just like, trying to be more selective and shoot something I'm happy with, because
Sure.
I don't shoot a buck to put meat in the freezer. I have no problem shooting does. Like I
Right.
shoot a couple does a year usually, and then I'll like kind of be selective in buck hunt.
Okay.
Um, is kind of the way I go about it. Like I won't necessarily shoot a buck every year, but like sometimes I'll get lucky, and one year I tagged out, which
Wow.
we can
That's
talk
nice.
about that in a second. But yeah, I just feel like you got to be realistic with what you got.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
Absolutely.
there's a group like top 10% or something. Like they kind of like preach like, you can shoot like the top 10% of what's on your property.
Mhm.
Like, like don't try and go shoot 170-inch deer if it's not there.
Yeah, that's true. You're gonna be there for a long time, you know?
Yeah, I mean, last year I shot an 8 point in rifle season, and that was like I shot that the day after I passed the 5 point, and the neighbor shot the 5 point the day I shot the 8 point, and it was just like bumming, like you said. It's like, hey, you can do your part, but like they're not all gonna make it.
Yeah. Yeah. What can you do
And
at
like the
that point?
8 point I shot, like it was actually interesting. I was hunting some state land, and by myself for years, and like never really had anybody bother me. And this year, I didn't hunt there because I had a bad wind on opener. So and it was like rainy. If you were in Michigan, we had like terrible weather for opener. So we
Mhm.
sat in a couple of our box blinds on private land, and I saw a buck, and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to move over to some state land that I have a good wind for the second day. And I was sitting there in the morning, and like probably 9 o'clock or so, and I hear a gunshot, like the closest gunshot ever, like like the closest that I've ever encountered to me. And it was like just up this ridge, like 75 yards away. It sounded like
Oh
super
wow.
close, and like up there, it's rifles, so it's like loud. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden, like a buck came booking it down this ridge, like, and then I like was counting. I'm like counted like four on the side of his head, and I just dropped it like right like
Jeez.
45 yards. But like up there, it's like as soon as you count to four up there, it's like, all right, it's probably a year and a half, like year and a half, 2.5, like more than likely a 2.5 year old deer for up there. Because the
Mhm.
more like when they're a year and a half, they're probably going to be a spike up there, or like a little four corner. I mean,
Yep.
you could have the occasional year and a half 8 point up there, but like probably not.
Mhm.
And but then I shot it, and it was like it happened all so fast, and I got up to it, and I was like, I think this is like my new minimum. It's kind of like what I established for up there. Because I was a little bit disappointed in myself, but like I'm also a proponent of like you gotta own it.
Yeah,
Like
for
I'm
sure.
not, but like it happened so damn fast, and I was just like, no, it is what it is. But like now I kind of like, I know what I don't want to shoot up here.
Yeah. It's hard in the
Like
moment
that
too,
was
you know?
actually I'm pretty happy. I mean, he's not. I mean, shoot, like I said, shoot what makes you happy. But like technically, I think this is legal in like the APR zone in Traverse City.
Mm.
So, and that's kind of what would be like my goal now. Like in a perfect world, the whole state turns into something like that. And
Yeah.
that might make a bunch of people bum for like a year. But like some people I knew that were anti-APR that now hunt up in the Traverse City area,
Uh-huh.
like they were all anti old time like didn't want it's brown it's down, and now they're shooting like nice 8 points, like nicer than this, like every year, and
Dang.
they're loving it. Like,
It changed their story, huh? So was that the year that you tagged out?
That, well, 8 point was last year. The year I tagged out, I actually shot a I shot at 8 point. I got all my gear right here. Actually, most I shot a basket 8 point
Oh,
on
nice.
on bow opener, and this was actually my first deer with a or first buck with a bow.
Nice.
And then I shot a 5 point up north in rifle season, and that was my first buck up north.
That's awesome.
I actually he's draw out, but he's just like he's got like 16-inch tine on one side with like decent brow tines, and that like it's kind of cool because that day I passed a 5 point the day before. He
Mhm.
just like wasn't that nice, scrawny. Like this was a few years back before I shot a buck up there. I
Okay.
tried for the longest time to shoot a buck up north. It's a lot harder than it is shooting them down here. It's a lot quieter. It's a lot like the wind just swirls and
Yeah. Just a
it's
different
just a
story.
whole other animal. But yeah, so I shot him, and then I also shot a doe that year. So that was cool. But it'll be hard to beat last year. It'll be hard
Yeah,
to beat last year
that's
with that elk.
incredible. This
Last
is
year I actually shot two does, a buck, and that elk.
wow. Yeah, it's a good
Because
season.
I usually like to do that early season doe hunt. So I
Yeah.
went to my buddy's place in the Thumb for that, and we got does within the first few hours of hunting. So I
That's awesome.
feel like that early season, like the deer don't even know you're hunting. It's like almost unfair. Like the last 2 years, I did the early season doe hunt, and I didn't hunt more than like 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
Like,
Jeez.
it
Yeah, that's
was,
something else.
it's been fun. I actually had my bow out there last year, and then my buddy had his 44 that he just bought, and he didn't know it, but he should have sighted in his. It was his first year hunting with his 44, and he sighted into the 100 yards, and like that's not a 100 yard gun, and like
Mhm.
we ended up shooting these deer at like 40 yards, so
Jeez.
like the gun was like way off, and like it ended up being an issue, but I think we have that
Oh, no.
we have that ironed out for this year. But that was definitely a learning curve for the 44. So if you ever pick up one of those heavier loads that's not a 100 yard gun,
Uh-huh.
I sighted into 50 yards. I had my bow hanging in the stand. We were double hung, and we had deer run in really fast. And I ended up just like grabbing his 44, and I shot the deer like on the run.
Oh, wow.
And so that was my first year of the season last year. And then I shot the 8 point. I hunted all the bow season, didn't see any buck that I wanted to shoot. I had all sorts of fun encounters, but
Mhm.
nothing that I wanted to pull the trigger on.
I
And
got
then at that point too, I knew that I was going elk hunting.
you.
So
Mhm.
I was like, hey, I'm gonna get a pretty darn good opportunity on elk hunting.
Sure.
Like it's like an 80 or 90% success rate or
Oh,
something for
wow.
the guys that are drawn. Is
Yeah.
like the elk herd like in Michigan, it's not like sidetracking again, just because I like to talk about all these things. But the elk herd in Michigan, it's not like in Colorado where you scare them and they're gonna go like 3 mountains over. Like for the most part, they're in an area, like
I see.
it's not. No, it's a pretty big area. Like it can definitely they can move, like, but they're not moving miles at a time.
Yeah. You have a general idea of where they're at.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
when we were there, it actually the day we showed up was a Friday. There was no snow on the ground. It was December like 11th or 10th or something like that.
Okay.
And then that night it started snowing. By the next morning and like lunchtime, there was a foot of snow on the ground. So that was like perfect for us because then like all the tracks that we're seeing are all fresh. We
Right.
know like it basically gives you a complete clean slate.
Yeah.
So like we were all pumped, and like the first day was kind of hard
Sure.
because it was just like it was like an active storm, so it was like our visibility was low, but then like the whole rest of the week was like just perfect. And like there would be like even if there was just a wind at night, the wind would at least like reset some of the tracks so you would at least know like what fresh tracks were.
That's awesome.
Like a lot of these guides, like what I kind of was touching on earlier, they all take multiple hunters with them. So like since I was a bull hunter, a lot of the guides will like link up with a bull hunter and a cow hunter. So if
Mhm.
you find elk, they can at least have one of you shoot. Because like, you know, you might find elk and like, oh, there's either a bull you don't want or there's not a bull in the group. Oh, well, there's a bunch of cows here.
I got
So
you. That's smart.
so it was, and like that puts more money in their pocket. But it
Sure.
definitely like takes a little bit away from your hunt. But
Mhm.
like, and there's definitely guides that just do one-on-one stuff. So I guess if my little like caveat is if anyone ever does this and like I would, and if anyone's actually listening to me this far into my babble, um, they should definitely like talk to the guide and be like, all right, do you want a one-on-one thing? Like, how much is it going to cost for like a one-on-one versus like a little bit of a group? Because I ended up being physically there for two cows being shot, and
Mm.
then we went to one that was shot and we helped like drag it out. So
Yeah.
I ended up being there for 3 total cow drag outs.
Wow.
And since I was young and like not someone who's been applying for 34 years, like, and me and my brother was with me the whole time, which was cool. We like to be doers. We're not going to
Yeah.
stand there and just like not help. So we helped drag out 3 cows.
Are you guys
The
like packing it out, or you just are you like you? I
For
don't
the
know.
most part, it was like we would hook them up on a tow strap, like a big hefty tow strap, and there'd be like, you know, 5 to 8 of us dragging, and like a couple of the drags were like pretty far, but like the snow was how nice because it like, you know, slid right on top of the snow for the
Sure.
most part. But
So
like
you're
there's
like
still
physically
all
pulling
sorts
it
of
there.
sticks. Yeah, and like we would like when we do like the first one's like kind of sucked, and then after like we like are like, all right, we're stripping down before we hump in here, and like we kind of learned after our first time. I'm
Jeez.
actually thinking about going back to the guide and like basically helping be like his pack out crew. And
That's
like he doesn't
awesome.
really have a crew, but I'm like, hey, I'll come hang out at camp because
Sure.
it's not really during hunting like deer season.
Hmm.
So I'm like, as long as I got availability, I was like, I'll
Yeah.
come hang out at camp. I'll bring a trailer and like a quad and like because he kind of has like my guide's like the head guide. He's got a group of guys that work for him,
Okay.
and so he's kind of like coordinating other guys well, like he was guiding me. I was like, dude, I would love to help like coordinate,
Yeah.
like or like tell me like so and so just got a cow down or an elk down. Like I'll go help with that. Like you can get the rest of the group like back in the woods hunting.
Yeah. It's
Like,
nice to be out there.
yeah, it'd just be cool to be a part of it. Now that it's like now I literally can't do it again unless I do Pure Michigan, which is like probably not going to happen. So it's like I'm literally banking on like a buddy to draw, and like more than likely like my brother. Because
Yeah.
like really like you don't have unless you do it like yourself or you have a one-on-one guide, like you're not really able to bring like a bunch of people with you on the actual hunt. Like I had people hanging out at the hotel,
Hmm.
but like you couldn't like, you know, have all 6 of your buddies in the truck wandering around. But
I
like when we were in the woods, like I didn't want a bunch of people with me because like we're trying to be successful here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Plus, I had a bow in my hand for the first few days, so I wanted to not only be successful, I wanted to get close.
Yeah.
So, like, depending on what you're looking for, like if you just had one guide and like you just wanted the one-on-one and you wanted the gun hunt, like you could easily like have, you know, 3 or 4 of your friends with you or your dad or your, you know, family,
Sure.
and like
You definitely want
have a
them with
real
you.
experience. Like my dad got to drive around with us for a couple days because like after we our initial cow hunter, we got him on a cow on the second day, and then we helped on a different cow on the first day, and then I ended up shooting my bull on the 6th day of 9.
Okay.
So by the 6th day, like there was a lot of hunters already done. But like I kind of liked it because I was seeing elk every day,
Yeah.
and it was like I was having like chances, and like I did have the opportunity to like I passed on a couple things, and like my guide wasn't even trying to get me to shoot anything smaller than a 6x6, but like he still presented you with the opportunity. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you know, here's a 5x5 you want to shoot. It's like, no, you're getting me on animals. I have faith in you. Like,
Yeah. Especially if you only get the one. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
get
And
what you
it's
want, you know?
like I feel like I would have shot like a huge cow at the end of the week rather than like a spike.
Hmm.
But like at the same time, I don't really know until I got there. But like, you know, we actually were like 30 yards from like a spike horn, like on the first morning. And
Jeez.
like I have my bow in my hand, the elk standing there, and like they're not nearly as skittish as whitetail.
Jeez.
Like I don't know, it's something else. We actually went back there and we hiked around in May and like we went shed hunting there
Oh,
because
nice.
like we were dropping onyx pins all over the place. So if anyone wants to DIY, I'll sell you an onyx pin for $100, something like that. But we were walking all around, and we actually walked up on elk. We didn't, which was pretty sweet. It was a nice like 60, 70 degree May day. And it was just me and my buddy and my brother. We had like a speaker, like a Bluetooth speaker going. We all had backpacks with beer in it. And we were just walking around. We didn't find a single shed, but we found all sorts of elk sign. And then like all of a sudden, like we walk up and it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And we're pretty close to like one of the spots that with one of the guys that we saw or we were with who shot a cow. We were pretty close to like where he harvested one.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like we kick up like a group of cow like 80 yards away.
Jeez.
And like we're hooting and hollering, making all sorts of noise, like just having fun. And then all of a sudden we go into hunting mode, like, oh shut up. Like there's like
just like that. Yeah.
Like I just saw something move 80 yards, like just to the left of that, like whatever tree.
Yeah.
And, like it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's super good. Oh,
maybe next time we'll find a shed, but I'm not much of a shed hunter. I tried to shed hunt, but I don't have very good success.
Oh man.
There's all sorts of people that like people will send those pictures into the page like, oh, here's my shed hunt from like this weekend, like 20 sheds. Jeez. I'm always like, man, how much did you walk? Like I'm always grilling them with questions because like I spend a good amount of time walking around the woods.
Yeah.
But like I don't trip over sheds.
Yeah. They're just falling in these guys' laps, huh?
Yeah.
Jeez. I guess kind of switching gears here a little bit. Do you ever get into like saddle hunting or anything like that?
I haven't got into saddle hunting. I've thought about it. My father-in-law is actually a pretty used to hunt a good amount, and he's a big proponent of it. Okay. I just like haven't committed up. It was kind of funny because he was like, I've been with my wife for 12 years, but we've only been married for 2 years. Mm-hmm. But like ever since I've been talking to her dad about hunting for 12 years, and like he's always told me about saddle hunting. And like 12 years ago, you didn't see tethered all over the damn place. So it's like I kind of wish I started saddle hunting because then I could have been like, one of those OG guys who like poo-poos all over the Facebook forums.
Yeah, yeah.
But now like the price just seems like a little outrageous for something I might not like. And I know like Tethered has like all sorts of those clinics and stuff. I do have some buddies that I could probably reach out to. Not any that I like directly hunt with, but that I know use them that I've linked up with on the page. But I would definitely like to try one. But the whole idea, like the bridge in my way, like it just doesn't sound comfortable to me. But like I think you do it, so maybe you could. I think I was creeping on you, and I think I saw you had pictures.
Yeah.
What brand did you go with?
So I originally went with the Tethered Mantis. That was like the first one, just because it was like, just like you said, that's like the first one that pops up whenever you like go look into them. And then I hunted with it for like the first year, and it just kept, it's like what you said, the bridge is there. My hips hurt, man. Like after 2 hours, I was like, my hips are all pinched in. So I was like,
was that just because of like their design? Like I don't know anything about them. So
I think it was the design, because then the next year I went with cruiser saddles.
Okay.
And that thing's like sitting in a recliner. Like it's so nice. And again, like it's a little pricey, but it's probably like the top of the line tree stand, if you will.
Right.
But ultimately, like,
so all in, like how much were you? Like 800 or something? Because you got to get the platform too, right?
That's true. So I kept the Predator platform that I got from Tethered, so I just keep using that. And then I use the cruiser saddle. So I think just with the cruiser saddle and the platform, I'm probably looking at like, I don't know, $500.
Okay.
So, but
it's not too bad.
Yeah, because I haven't bought another one since. You know what I mean? So like, and it's
and I feel like they last too. Like I think like a lot of those have like somewhat of a warranty on them, right? Like a lot of the companies.
Yeah, they're super good. Cruisers like super good in getting back with you. Same thing with Tethered. Tethered's not bad either. But it's just super nice because like when I'm hunting public land, it's nice not to leave my sets out. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm in and out in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I feel like it would be a lot quicker. I did get into the mobile hunting game a couple years ago, so I picked up a Lone Wolf Assault going on 2 years ago now.
Okay.
And I definitely like that. But I've always been a kind of a lock-on guy, and I've always had like the cheapo lock-ons and hunting private property. And then now like that we've kind of that we've kind of doubled up on our property, have a little bit more. I'm not really super familiar with all of it. So I've been kind of using it on private land to bounce around.
Sure.
And then also using it on public land to bounce around. So I kind of like that aspect of it.
Okay.
and I'm getting pretty good with hanging it relatively quickly. I feel like I spent so much time as a kid moving stands around private land, like every year, like, oh, I want to reset my stand 30 yards just because I think it's going to do better. Like now that I have a 10-pound stand, I'm just like, oh my God, this is awesome. But like,
Yeah.
I feel like I I think there's definitely perks to a saddle, and I would definitely like to try one out.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know a lot of guys own like, all of the above. They own a saddle, they own a climber, they own a lock on. Like a lot of the people are proponents of like there's a use for all the having all the tools in the toolbox.
Sure.
So like even like last year I added like a ground, like a floor like a mobile ground setup to my, like, which I know like you can just go sit on the ground. Like I like to be a little bit comfortable when I'm out there, and like I'm out there in a lot of like weather that's not very comfortable. So if I could like make sitting more comfortable, I don't want to sit on the ground or a milk crate. I
Yeah.
picked up a turkey chair last year. Like I do turkey hunt, but I'm not like a big turkey hunter by any means.
Hmm.
But I picked it up strictly for whitetail hunting,
Okay.
and then I picked up like three those like plastic stakes with like 6 or so inches of like metal on the bottom, like
Uh-huh.
fencing stakes, but they're like they're pretty light.
Yeah.
I got three of them and like connected burlap to them, and then so it's like one on my left, one pole in my middle, and then one pole on my right, and then I usually like sit back up against a tree. So then like it's mostly like I've come to find out it's definitely more of a gun setup than a
Hmm.
bow setup, just because I'm a little too low to the ground with the turkey chair,
Okay.
and like I don't like that my legs are kind of like extended out on the ground. Like, after a while, there's definitely like some pressure on my knees,
Hmm.
but like for a half day hunt or like a few hours, it's definitely like nice.
Sure.
And like,
You're gonna be
and you
comfortable.
don't like some guys are always like I want to get super light. Like, what can I do to make my stand like a half pound lighter? It's like, well, you could like just bring a chair and sit on the ground. Like,
Yeah,
like,
like that's out of the window.
like
Yeah, you can't
that
do
is an
that.
option.
Yeah.
Like I feel like
Yeah.
some guys are like totally overthinking it. Like,
Oh man.
I don't know. Like there's it's just another tool in your toolbox, in my
I definitely agree.
opinion.
Yeah,
But like the ultralight guys, it's like I kind of really want an ultralight stand. Like
man. Hmm.
I do. Like the beast stand is sweet. The point 0.5 and the 1.0 Lone Wolf custom stands, those look pretty sweet.
Hmm.
Um, I just don't know if I can like, the money is outrageous. But like I understand that like I'm into returnable packaging, kind of like I said. So I'm like understanding like manufacturing processes. I get like kind of what it like. Generally speaking, I understand what it takes to like make that.
Hmm.
So I don't think like the price is completely out of line per se. Like maybe like 50 or $80 a fluff on there, but like I don't think it's too crazy because like there's probably a lot of waste and like and specifically Lone Wolf Custom and B Gear and the way they make their stands since
Hmm.
they're not cast. Like there's like once they die cut all that out or like CNC cut all that,
Yeah,
like
the
there's got to
leftovers
be a
and
lot.
stuff.
Like in theory, it's like recyclable, right? Because it's like can be melted back down, but like
Sure.
it's still like you milled it and like you still wasteful. Like
Yeah, there's another process to it. Yeah.
right. But
Yeah.
like I also heard like there's a good amount of flex in those stands, and
Hmm.
like I'm not like light, I'm probably like 240,
Hmm.
so I'm not like, and I know a lot of those stands are like 300 like weight rating.
Yeah.
It's like I mean I know I've seen much bigger guys than me hunting out of all these stands, and I'd be fine. But like the whole idea of like a stand that expensive and it's like flexing on you kind of scares me a
Yeah, that's the
little
last thing
bit.
I want, man.
Yeah.
The
So I'm definitely intrigued by Novix, and I've been watching Novix a lot, and
hmm.
I'm excited to see what they come out with. I mean, I know they just came out with their Hilo, which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
I know what I think a lot of guys expect it to be a little lighter than it
Hmm.
hit. I don't know if you watched that at all,
Hmm.
um, but it hit like a so like Novix. I'm sure you're kind of familiar with who they are, but they're like the same company as Lone Wolf. They're under the same umbrella,
Yeah.
and they're like Lone Wolf rebranding as like basically consumer direct and all American made. Um, but they came out with the Hilo stand, which is like the remake of the Assault, and I have the Assault Lone Wolf Assault, and like the Lone Wolf Assault's like 11 pounds, right around that, with like all the hardware, and I
Okay.
think the Hilo that they kind of renovated the Assault and like made it a little slimmer is like 10 pounds, but
Jeez.
it's like also like 3 inches narrower. Like it's got quite the smaller footprint, which I feel like,
Sure. But I don't want to be
depending on the
sitting in a stand
situation,
like
could be
this
pretty
either, though,
nice.
you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah, I feel that too. 'Cause I like the move, but like I feel like hunting, a lot of hunting goes back to like embracing the suck that we mentioned earlier.
yeah.
But like when I was hunting as a kid, like out of those, $50 stands with like the metal bars with like the three metal bars of the seat, like
Yeah.
that sucks. So like all these other new platforms and stuff, like at least they have like full metal seats and like it's not complete misery.
That's true. I'm glad that they have those brackets now instead of just like holding onto the tree this way and then swinging it all
Yeah,
the way around. And
yeah. At least you can like hook it on now, like
yeah,
without. Yeah, I agree. But just the weight of those stands is like not having to hold your 25-pound lock on that you got when you were in high school.
yeah,
Like I still move those around occasionally because there's definitely a time and a place for permanent sets.
sure.
Like I definitely like throwing my lock on like lone wolf stuff. I'm
Hmm.
definitely thinking about getting a Novix here shortly, just because I think there's something to be said about having two setups too,
Oh yeah.
especially if you go somewhere like public land, like and you're going there for a few days. Like
Hmm.
in a perfect world, you might hang a set. Okay, you had a good wind there. You saw something good, and then maybe the next day the wind shifts, but
Yep.
you don't think it's worth pulling the set down. So
Right.
then you go sit somewhere else with your other setup, and then maybe you go back to that other setup a day later.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like bouncing that idea around in my head right now. I do have the full length lone wolf sticks and the short Novix sticks. I got the mini short sticks last year from Novix because
Okay.
I wanted to see like the packability of it. I was kind of bouncing around the idea of cutting down my lone wolf sticks,
Hmm.
like a lot of guys do and mod them. But then I was like, Novix had a sale, and like I think I got those sticks for like it was like four of them for like $120 or something
Oh,
like that.
nice.
And I was like, why cut down my sticks when I could just buy an oldie set?
Yeah.
And like, hunter rationalization, I could just spend more. Like,
Yeah.
but
Right.
like, I don't know, the way I see it, like I didn't know if I was gonna like it cut down.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
true. You
like,
can go back once you cut it. You know
yeah,
what
I
I
mean,
mean?
yeah. So
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna run both. And like definitely the short ones, you definitely don't get as high. But I threw two cabelators on the bottom two. And
Okay.
I feel like that gets me high enough. In a lot of situations, like maybe just pick your tree accordingly. Like, oh, I can't get that high in the setup. Okay, well, I'm gonna, that tree's got a limit 18 feet or so. Like I'm gonna try and get up to that. But
Hmm.
like, I definitely like sitting higher. Like
Yeah.
generally speaking,
For
if
sure.
if I'm gonna be in a permanent setup or hang a permanent set, like I'm gonna try to get it higher. I
Yeah.
mean, I even know like a lot of my sticks that I have in my permanent setups, most like for the most part, we like lock-ons, but I have a good amount of ladder stands too because I like to set up spots to make sure my dad can hunt them too.
Hmm.
Man with the keys definitely has to be taken care of. It's the key to success. Um, and so I've been doing that, but like a lot of our lock-on setups, my dad's not a fan of hunting. He will like basically combine setups. So like I kind of took a stick out of the whole setup, and instead of 20-foot sticks, I pretty much run all 25-foot sticks.
Okay. Nice.
So, and that way, it's twofold. One, you get a little higher. And two, you can also make it a little easier at the top. So, like maybe you're only sitting like 22 feet up, but then you got a couple extra rungs so you can like transition over.
I got you. That's
So,
genius.
it's all about like when I was younger, I didn't know what a safety harness was, but
Hmm.
I'm definitely getting smarter in my old age and listening to all these personalities online. And, you know, we got hunters, we all have harnesses. We
Hmm.
have extra harnesses for anybody like, our significant others who want to hunt with us.
Hmm.
And then we have linesmen's ropes on like all our permanent sets.
Oh, that's awesome. That's super good.
And like, I even know, I mean, even from the falls, like, even if you fall on one of those, like, that's going to hurt.
Oh
Like,
yeah. Yeah. But at least you'll still
you're
be
not
alive.
guaranteed no injury, but like, you're probably not going to break your back at least.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly. Well,
so that's definitely something we've been pushing the last probably 5 to 10 years, right?
yeah. And I know with the older generation, they're like, you'll be fine. You know what I mean? Or like, oh,
Yeah,
you don't need that. But
I
yeah.
definitely have my years of doing stupid shit, but
Yeah.
I'm just trying to like keep it a little bit more mellow and be a little bit more responsible.
Sure. No, I get it.
And I understand healthcare is expensive too. What's crazy is like a lot of those injuries though, like the sticks, like how this a lot of the lock on like your standard like sticks are. It'll just be like your stem with like all your like pegs off it. Like a
Hmm.
lot of those pegs have just open holes. And like, have you seen some of the injuries of people getting like gouged by those?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's not a
oh,
little scratch. Yeah.
oh. Okay. I hope if it ever happens, it's like late season when I have a lot of clothes on. Oh my God.
Yeah. You really hurt yourself on that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I feel like I'm injury prone to a certain degree, but
That's
I ran out to the property like a week ago. I was out of town for work, or like not out of town, but hour and a half or so away from here. So I was like, oh, I can swing by the property, do a last trail camera check, like real quick. I'll be in and out in like a half hour. And like I threw my old muck boots on. I'm like, all right, I'm good. Like I'm trucking. I'm only like halfway through the property and I feel like the soles of my feet like wearing from blisters already. And I'm like, what? Like, no. Like I'm only like halfway through this project. Like, and I got like just cheapo cotton socks on. By the time I get out, like 20 minutes later, I have like golf ball size like blisters on the back of my heel, and I'm like just like mad at myself and just like
Yeah. But you have that conversation with yourself. You're like, I'm already here. I'm halfway through. I might as well just keep going, you know?
yeah, like what am I gonna do? Like in theory, I should have like probably stopped and tried to put like my pant leg like over my heels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm still paying for it.
Oh man.
Still tender.
Well, I'll ask you this last question here. What do you got planned for this upcoming season? Like, you got any hunts that maybe you're looking forward to?
Yeah, definitely planning to go to Ohio with my buddy this year. He's gonna take me to his exact tree. No, no, I'm just kidding. Definitely planning to go to Ohio though. That's my plan, kind of with my vacation time this year. I am actually a first-time dad here shortly.
Nice,
So
congrats.
thank you. So that's definitely going to be something that is going to be a curveball, so to speak. So my wife's due any day now. So end of August, she's officially due. So we'll see what happens here. But I should be a dad within the next week and a half. It's looking like.
Nice, that's awesome.
So that'll be kind of be, we'll see. I definitely want to be involved with my child for sure. But I got a huge passion for the outdoors, and I know my wife knows that. And it'll kind of be nice though, because I think she'll be on maternity leave for 3 months, which will basically be like a good chunk of the fall. I'm hoping. I could be completely speaking out of my ass here. Maybe people are laughing at me at this point. All the real parents out there, like I'm hoping maybe get up north and just like take my wife and my baby up there, and like I can still work. I've still been working remote for pretty much all of COVID. I kind of hybrid. I go places some couple days a week or sometimes not at all, depending on my schedule. So I'm hoping I can spend some time up at the cabin.
Nice.
Still be involved in the dad role, but slip out and get some time in the woods and hang out. And
That's awesome.
I'm probably going to do a early doe hunt again and just try and get some meat in the freezer.
Nice.
My sister, I got a sister and a brother. My sister, I'm the middle child. My brother's younger. My sister's the oldest. She's not a hunter or anything, but she grew up on venison. She's a big proponent of venison. So I usually give the last couple of years I've been giving my first doe. We just my dad will split the processing. I will just give the whole doe to my sister.
Okay.
The last couple of years we've been. She had a kid a couple of years ago too, so she's been going through more food at her house. And this past year she actually asked for 2 deer. So we've been trying to take care of her. Like we grew up like between me and my dad and my brother, like I'd say like 5 deer would be like a minimum.
Yeah.
Like
you guys go through it pretty quick.
That would be between like downstate hunting and upstate. And like we try to do it smart because like we try to hunt like do our doe hunting down here.
Mm-hmm.
Like we get doe tags for up north, but like not really. Like we'll shoot them up there, but it's not really our main priority. Mm-hmm. Because the does taste better downstate. Like it's like you're eating like a farm raised cow downstate, and then upstate they're just their natural browse what they're eating in the big woods is just not nearly as nutritious, and there's definitely like a taste difference.
That's interesting. That's super interesting.
So we'll see. Like we'll see how many times. I think Ohio I want to go at least twice is my plan. I don't have any out of state hunts like other than that. I barely even consider Ohio out of state because it's so close. It's literally like driving up north. You're just going south. So as far as distance. Yeah. And I'm hoping in 2 years or maybe even next year, I want to go back out to Colorado. So we went out to Colorado a few years ago. In 2018, we went, and we did DIY over the counter bow hunting, and it was our first time, me and my buddies, but we met up with his cousin who has been going out there for a few years, and he's from Texas. But we met out with him at the public property that they hunt, and we just stayed with him at his like campsite.
Nice.
And it was perfect because he like had like a big ass like outfitter tent that sleeps like 10 or 12 guys, and there were 6 of us. So like we had all sorts of room. And then like he's been hunting at that like those couple mountains for a few years. So he was able to give us some pointers and like, hey, we're going here, but like I think you guys should go this way because of this, and like, and tell us like, you know, ways to go or ways not to go. Or and then like we did a bunch of research online, but it was nice to hear it from like someone like physically in person, like, hey, like this is what you see or shouldn't see. And like one thing people tell you, like when you're not in the elk sign, you're gonna know. When you're in the elk sign, you're gonna know. And like that can like you can kind of like it sounds easy, but then like you're up there and you're like, okay, like I'm seeing elk sign, and then all of a sudden like you get to like a desolate area where like you haven't seen something in 20 minutes, and you're like, okay, I'm in an area where there's no elk there. Like I need to go back. Like, okay, so this is what they meant by like no elk sign. like as a whitetail hunter that's like in Michigan that's used to just like sitting there and waiting, I'm like I would find good sign and be like, well, do we sit here for a half hour or an hour? I'm like, I don't know. And like, we learned a lot. We actually, we hunted for like six and a half days of hunting, and we were on elk for like 3.5 days. We saw elk.
That's awesome.
So it was sweet. And like, we didn't get more than like 100 yards away, but like, we just thought seeing elk, being there, like in their bedroom was like, hey, that's a win in itself. Yeah. And like, of the 6 of us though, there was one other guy, his cousin's buddy, who was his first time out there. He got an elk, and it was his first time. And it was with a bow. He shot it at 20 yards, and it ran 20 yards and fell over.
What a story!
And it was like, oh my gosh! And he shot it like 11,000 foot. Like, wow. And like it was kind of a bummer. Like it was cool because we were there, but it was kind of a bummer because they were like hunting this one mountain that night, and because of the time of night they shot it. It was like right at dusk, and it didn't make sense for them to hike down. Yeah. And they were like ready to stay up there if they needed to, but they didn't have tents. They just had like their sleeping bags. And they were just going to sleep like under the stars essentially. So they ended up staying up on top of the mountain that night. Wow. And like they like processed the elk, put the elk like a few hundred yards away from where they were sleeping, and then like went and stayed like somewhere else and like literally slept up there. And then we didn't see them until the following evening because we hunted like that whole next day, and like they hiked down the mountain that day, brought the elk down, and it was like I wish we were a part of that, but like I also would have took away from my hunt, but it would have been just sweet experience to be a part of. And like, but like we still got to that night, we still ate fresh backstraps over the fire like when we were there.
You can't beat that. And
the elk was in camp, like we got to see it and like
that's awesome.
Eat it, and it was just like the guy's name was Tyler, and it was just like, dude, like this is awesome. Like first trip, 20 yards, ran 20 yards, and then it was a 4x3, and he had like a 5x5 or like a 5x6 like run by like right after it happened, like at 20 yards. He said there was like another one that was standing like basically right in the same spot.
That's incredible.
It's just like, man, it's just, and like the success rate out there's like, and a lot of these is like less than 10%, or like in a lot of these counties or like areas or whatever they call them.
He's the unicorn. So, he just goes out there and has a dream hunt.
Yeah, it's like, hey, it can happen. That's why I feel like that's why we all hunt, right? Because you never know, like what can happen. Like one thing I was going to show you, like this is a doe I shot, which I know a lot of people don't have European mounted does, but I did because I shot this one. And there's literally an arrow in her skull.
No way.
So I thought I had to get it mounted. So like, I don't know if you can kind of, you can see it.
What?
So that's the broadhead in her nasal cavity. So I shot this with a gun during rifle season up north. And I just had a doe tag, and I didn't see it. Like, I didn't know it was there until I was like gutting it. My buddy was like, hey, what's that? And it was literally like, you could just see a little bit of like black sticking out of like her fur. Oh, but you can actually see it's a G5. You can't see it, but it's a G5 Monte.
Wow.
Right? So it's like, and you can see that line.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the broadhead. So it's like literally like right above her teeth, and just like right into her nasal cavity.
Dang.
And
That's
like
horrible
that's
shooting,
it's
but that's
fucking.
awesome that you got that.
I ended up like pulling trail camera pictures like at the end of the season, and I had like pictures of this doe, and there was like a little black spot, and like I didn't know what it was, and it was like for sure this doe. So now it's the only European mount of a doe I'll probably ever have, but unless I shoot a if I shoot a piebald, it'll be a whole mount. And so yeah,
Wow.
that's probably something unusual, I would say.
That's incredible. That's so cool. Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
know taxidermists find all sorts of things. So I like dropped this off to the guy to do a euro on it. I was like, hey, I don't really know where the broadhead is. I would assume it's like, somewhere in there. I hope it stays in there for the mount. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But like, hey, just do what you can with it. When he gave it back, he said, hey, it worked fine. I just did it like normal and it stayed in there.
Wow. That's a cool story. Yeah, that's awesome.
What's
Well,
your
man.
favorite deer story? Well, I still have you. I got to hear one story out of you. What's your favorite story? Maybe not deer story. What's your favorite story out of the woods?
Oh man. I don't know. I think probably last year. I killed the biggest deer in my life last year. Um, I probably knocked on like over 100 doors, try and
Oh
get like
yeah.
access to private land and stuff. I was stationed in Illinois, and
Okay.
there's state land out there, but it's hunted super heavily. Like you'll see more people than you do deer, you know.
Okay.
So it was late. It was later in the season. I got a call back from a guy. He's like, "Hey, you knocked on my door, things like that. Just wanted to let you know you can hunt my property." I was like, "Okay, cool. Like that's awesome." Uh, I went out there and scouted it the night before, and then I was like, "This looks like a pretty decent spot." I got out of work late, and I was like, I was gonna saddle hunt, but I was like, I'm gonna make too much noise getting up into the stand and things like that. So I just sat on a log, and then probably like
I
six.
love it. I love it.
And I had my crossbow with me, so I was like, oh, all right, I'll just sit here and see. And like through the woods, I was like, oh, there's a deer right there. Like that's kind of cool. I didn't know what it was. And
Yeah.
then like a half hour later, like I see something a little bit further in the woods, and I was like, oh, I might get a shot. So I stand up, make a little bit of noise, and I move over, and this deer is 8 point broadside, 40 yards, pull the trigger, perfect shot right behind the shoulder, falls probably 60 yards. Just a dream story, man. I
It's
got him
awesome.
mounted, and I just got him back probably like two weeks ago. So
Oh really? Do you got him up in that room? Are you staring at him?
no, I'll have
No.
to pull up a picture when we get done with this. I'll have to show you. So, but yeah, it's I'm pretty stoked with it. So
Yeah, it's awesome. Like it's like I love hunting with people, but when you can get it done all by yourself, it's like I don't know. It's like a little bit of a different feeling.
yeah, it's unreal. Like it's definitely, yeah, it just in the story. Just again, like I was going in blind almost, so like it's kind of cool that worked out.
Yeah, I almost like I like trail cameras because like it's kind of cool to know what's there, but it's also like a little sweeter when it's just like you have no idea.
Yeah, man.
Like just the what ifs of deer hunting are just like awesome. Like we got one deer that showed up on trail camera a couple years ago, and he just looked like a horse. Like I think it was only like a 7 point, but he was like tall. Like his G2s were like huge,
Yeah.
and we just call him Plumpy. And it has nothing to do with his rack, but it has everything to do with his haunches. It's just like
Mm,
massive.
it's a big
And
deer, huh?
it's just like the deer that like makes you like think, like, hey, they can show up anytime. Like some guys will say, oh, I don't have deer on trail camera, like, or any bucks on trail camera all summer. It's like, if you got does on trail camera, like there's bucks there. Just relax.
Yeah.
Or if they're not there, they're gonna show up and
Yep.
find the does.
You got to be out there though, you know.
Oh
That's the
yeah.
only way you're gonna see them.
That's the struggle. Jobs, right? Jobs.
So
Yeah, I feel like our dad's generation, like that's what they grew up doing.
yeah,
Like it's funny because like it was like a mix though, because like they grew up like sitting on a log and getting it done the old school way without bait.
yeah,
And then like all of a sudden baiting became a thing. And they're like, we can throw
yep,
bait like
yeah.
down. And it's like it was definitely like a little bit like pulling teeth to get my dad away from it. And
Hmm.
like even like once like baiting was like when baiting still was a thing and I was starting to get more into the food plot game,
Hmm.
it was like, Dad, you don't have to put the bait down. I'm literally baiting the ground to grow. Like this is bait. It's a different type of bait.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and he's like, no, I'm gonna put sugar beets all over. I'm like, no, like then they're gonna only come here for your sugar beets.
Yeah.
Like let them get used to this. And like it's been fun though.
What did
I
you
like
have a
hunting
background
both
in that
though,
stuff?
private land and public land. There's benefits in both.
Yeah, that's true. Did you have a background in like planting food plots and stuff?
No, but one little benefit, I did graduate I'm in the packaging, or I graduated from the packaging school at Michigan State, which is actually in the agriculture school. So I
Okay.
hung out with a lot of like agriculture people. And then my
Nice.
buddy that I roomed blind at Michigan State, and then I ended up getting a really good friend out of the mix who's from Port Huron, and then he majored in like turfgrass management,
Hmm.
which is a big degree at state, and that's obviously in the ag program too. So he's like big into that. He actually works for like a fertilizer company up in Traverse City area. So
Nice.
he's kind of got a good like farm connection of like people. And then I've just been doing like podcasts and talking to people online, picking their ears. I talked to White Gold, like I've talked to those guys directly a few times,
Okay.
and just talked to like Michigan Whitetail Pursuit guys, whoever's willing to talk to me, like either on my personal page in person, like I'll go to some events and talk to people just once, whatever you want to talk about. It's hunting related, I'll probably talk about it.
Yeah.
For the most part though, with like food plots, it's like I'm trying not to waste my money.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be smart with it. Like I don't fertilize my lawn, my house, but I have fertilizer that I buy to put in the woods.
Yeah.
like why spend $200 on fertilizer for my lawn when I can spend $200, make some food plot in the woods that no one's ever going to see.
Yeah, that's investment. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's all a process, but like I think some solid podcasts I've listened to in the last like couple years and just stuff in general. And I'm like, soil sample is key if you're doing anything. I would add as much lime as you can if you need to build up your lime. One podcast I listened to recently, I did a post on my Instagram about it. Check that out. I gave a specific shout out of the number, but that kind of like broke down like what your soil needs. That
Okay.
podcast, and that's kind of what I've been listening to more. And like, if you can do like get what your soil needs, and like in a perfect world, you can do it all in 1 year, but like it's probably not going to be done if your lime's like not as good. And
Right.
where you're at, it might be pretty good, but I mean, maybe you're planting right next to pine trees or something like I am.
We're super sandy.
So yeah, so I'm acidic and sandy too. But like one of my best spots, like we literally call it the sand pit, and like it's got a 7 pH and it's sand, but it's got decent organic matter, and like I can get a good like rye cereal grain mix growing in there, like no problem. I don't know. I mean, with the pH, I almost think I could try radish and something bigger, but because it's sand,
Mhm.
like the soil doesn't really hold any damn moisture.
Yeah.
So like I don't know if like, but I can get the rye to grow like 2 feet tall in there, and
Wow.
I didn't even plant it yet. So like we have all our stuff tilled. So one thing I learned about it, or learned too, was if in a perfect world you disc your stuff like about 5 to 6 weeks before you plant to give anything that was growing ample time to like break down and add some positive nutrition to your soil.
I got
So
you.
that's, and like one thing we've been doing in the past is like, okay, we're going to turn over our spring or our spring plot or just whatever we had growing in there from the year past, because sometimes we don't do a spring plot
Hmm.
just because of time, or if we think the weather was like going to scorch it or whatever. So then we would just disc it under and plant like all that day. And like we had decent turnout, but that also had to do probably with like a timely rain. So I'm thinking if we all like just time it all out better,
Hmm.
like break it down to like follow the science a little bit more, I
Right.
think it'll I think we'll have a little bit better results. Because he also recommended to putting the fertilizer down like 2 to 3 weeks before you plant.
Okay.
So like disc your ground about 6 weeks before, and then put your fertilizer down about 2 to 3 weeks before you plant. Which I know is a lot easier said than done with all these people like me and you that have to travel to your spots because you gotta have individual travel dates for all these events. But then 2 to 3 weeks before you put your fertilizer down, which in theory he said it will rain a couple times in those 2 to 3 weeks,
Yeah.
and then it'll work your fertilizer down so it's not just on the top, it'll be in like the first couple inches of the soil. So once your seed is growing, it'll help with initial germination, and then once your roots start driving, it'll help with that too.
I got
Which
you.
like that, like the more when it's broken down to you, it like makes sense. Like
Sure. Sure.
because it's like you want to help it for the duration of the time, not just like the first part, or like you don't want to dish your fertilizer under and like let it be at the bottom. Like
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like you said though, like if you're, if it's not around the corner, it's just all right, we got a weekend. Let's knock this out in a weekend.
Right. Yeah. So it's like if you like my new goal is going to be like try to disc our plots around 4th of July because we're usually up there 4th of July. And then if somebody could put fertilizer down sometime like before mid-August, like usually, early August, late July. And like because it's like a team, like my dad and my brother and my buddies, like I'm hoping like enough of us are going to be around. Yeah. But like, everyone's getting older, popping kids out.
Yeah.
So I understand it is what it is, but like
sure.
I'm gonna try to like have a little bit of a goal. And if I deviate a little bit, like we did plant a plot. That's another thing. Like a lot of these bags will say like, oh, plant it between July and September. It's like, okay, well, if you plant it in July and like it doesn't get much rain, it could get scorched all of August and then not take. And so but then you see guys planting like right now and like a week ago. And it's like, okay, so like, what do they know that I don't? And then it's like, I've planted like Labor Day with good results. But like this year, we specifically were like, all right, well, we see a little bit of rain coming, and my brother was up north last weekend. So we planted one of the plots.
Okay.
And it's been rained on twice now already.
Okay.
Which is good. So the way I see it, one thing too that I wasn't able to really get into is we did a couple clear cuts on our property this past winter. So we've opened up some new opportunities for us. So like some of our plots are brand new. They've been bulldozed this year. So we like stripped the land and like, so we're adding a lot more work that we wouldn't normally have. Sure. So like everything's a little bit behind. I think next year we're going to have a little bit more time because we've already dealt with it. Like just doing the initial plot work, which I'm sure you're familiar with, is just like a pain in the ass breaking new ground. And then like, cause we were doing so much of it, it's like, me and my brother kept joking with each other. We're professional picker uppers to put stuff down. Or it's like just bending all. We're like, what do I got to pick up? Like, all right, here's a stick, here's a root. Yeah, I got to pick up this disc. Here, I got to pick up this. Here, I got to pick up another 1,000 pounds of lime. So we tried to do a bunch by lime in the spring, which is going to be also our new goal. Which we formerly were doing a lot of our liming in the fall. And like, it's really like if you got to do it, just do it once, and you might as well do it in the spring. So like it absorbs in all like for the next couple of months, it'll be like more help you for your fall planting.
That makes sense.
And like he said, like 6 to 10 weeks is like a good goal. So like if you want your lime to like really help with that planting, like 6 to 10 weeks prior to your planting date would be like a good goal.
I got you.
So like pH is all a balance. Like one thing like you always read too is like you need to get the perfect pH. It's like, well, where we're hunting and where we're disking is probably not going to be perfect, but like it could be, a 5.8 or a 6.2 or 6.5 or something. Like he said, for a lot of like our goals for just growing like something decent, like that would be plenty fine. So like, I just think it's like just keeping a record of what you're doing and like maybe changing a few different things. If you have the ability to have a couple different plots, just to like do a few different trial periods, and then
right.
By the time we're our dad's age, I feel like we'll have this dial
in. Those guys on those TV shows, yeah. That'd be great.
I don't know if we'll be shooting 160-inch deer, but I think we'd both be happy with like 100-inch deer every year.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Yeah.
I'm not too picky, right? I'm not trying to be super greedy. I almost think I'm just gonna like, for a bigger deer, I'm just gonna start hunting out of state.
It's definitely a good possibility. It just gets expensive with those tags,
Yeah, tags and like also like like hunting state land, like it takes time to learn it. So it's like how many trips do you have to go to actually learn it?
Yep. Yeah.
So we'll see. I applied to Kansas this year just to start like acquiring points there. And like they say like 2 to 3 points is like you can get a pretty good pick out there. Like you could go with like 1 year or like even no year. I think you could like buy it right over the counter. But like they say, if you accrue a couple points, like you can get a little bit more desirable areas.
Okay.
But a couple of us are thinking about going there in 2 to 3 years and doing a muzzleloader hunt. So I figured we might as well start acquiring the points.
Yeah.
And then since I can no longer do the Michigan elk hunt, I started applying to Maine's moose hunt.
Nice. Nice.
So I don't know. I haven't looked too much into the specifics of like what are my chances of actually winning.
Yeah.
But I've always watched like Northwood's Law.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I'm always like, oh, Maine looks like a cool place to hunt.
Yeah.
So I looked into that, and it was like, I don't know, it was like 10 or 15 bucks to apply or something like that. But it's like a $1,500 tag. And it was like, well, I mean, that's cheaper than going to like Saskatchewan or something. Like, right?
That's true.
But
On
like
that show
Michigan,
too, you see everybody, like the whole town comes out for those drawings,
yeah.
like,
I remember specifically, it was like, because I watched the show too much, like Officer McCabe, he like
uh-huh.
drew a tag, and it was like you get like a second shooter because a moose is so big. So like if you draw, like you can have like your dad like get like bring a gun and he gets to shoot too.
Wow.
And so it's like that'd be sweet.
That would be
So
cool.
I was figuring, I'm like, hey, I'm young, I might as well start applying other places.
Worth a shot, right?
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to try. Well, that's my goal. So there's something to get into. I think the draw or the period's already over, but next year you start
Yeah,
applying for
for
visas.
sure. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on here, man. I like hearing your stories. You got some awesome stuff. If you want to give your social tag handle one more time so people can give you a follow.
Yeah, for sure. Check us out, Michigan Hunters. We're mainly on Instagram. We do upload to Facebook too, but Michigan_Hunters. And shout us out, send us pictures. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. We're all pretty social guys, Mitchell, Max, and Martin. So we're all 3Ms, all last name Hella. And yeah, hit us up.
Nice.
Appreciate it. Appreciate your time, Mark. It was fun.
Yeah,
I
man.
don't know how much everyone else will listen to, but hey, I had fun talking about hunting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always a treat, man. Well, thanks again.
Yeah, no problem, man. Have a good night. Feel free to hit us up